do you like us forking out this much money? So this $50 million was for loss and damage. Penny Wong said we're responding to extreme weather and slowing onset climate events in the Pacific. Can you give us some examples? What kind of bang can we expect for this buck? That's $50 million. But this $50 million, ladies and gentlemen, is on top of the $100 million that we've committed to the Pacific Resilience Committee. What do they do? Do you just literally make up names for committees? And that is on top of another $50 million for the Australia-Pacific Partnership for Energy Transition. Now, we'd like to assume that their purpose is in the name, but again, how are you transitioning, since you're doing such a great job here at home in Australia with your green transition, how are we transitioning the Pacific exactly? That's $200 million right there. How much more do you need before we change the weather? Like, can we just cut to the chase? How much more do you need? Of course, you and I know that this is a bottomless pit, and this has got nothing to do with changing the weather and everything to do with the massive global wealth redistribution project that this whole thing is a Trojan horse for. It drives me up the wall. Is China with its massive output of emissions, are they contributing to the Pacific nations? No. When they go to Pacific nations, they're smarter. They just buy up bits. They just give them facilities and other things that the Pacific Islanders are like, oh yeah, we want a piece of that. Only China's really buying them up. They're far more strategic. We just throw the massive wads of cash. We, the taxpayer, never see that ever again. We never get a receipt as to what that was spent on. And here's Wong. She says the government recognises the profound impacts of climate change on Pacific communities, culture, livelihoods. How is it? Can you give us a pie chart? Can you give us anything showing the impact that it is happening on culture over there, on livelihoods over there? If they could show us, oh, this many jobs are being lost due to these conditions, etc. and so on, but they play us for complete flogs. They do not even justify the expenditure.
The part that really stuck in my craw from Penny Wong's quote is where she talks about being responsible for the livelihoods of people in the Pacific Islands, throwing out $200 million. I just like $275. We've all forgotten about that. We've got people in this country homeless, elderly people who can't pay their power bills, and the government's worried about the livelihoods of people in the Pacific Islands. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't care about other people, but take care of those at home first. And when the government can't afford to do what they promised prior to the election, they shouldn't be splashing money around overseas.
Well, let's be Pacific about what's going on here. See what I
Very
did
good.
there. I hate it when people say Pacific instead of specific. I'm sure Kel Richards, if he's watching,
do you hate it
knows
more
exactly
or
what I'm
less
talking
when
about.
people say nuclear?
Oh, they're on equal footing.
Bugbears. He literally starts manifesting, ladies and gentlemen.
Nuclear.
Someone is on.
Nuclear. Like, it's spelled Nuclear. Nuclear. It's not hard.
Got him going.
Specific, not Pacific. Anyway, having made that point, to be Pacific about what is going on here, I mean, this is just blackmail money, right? Yeah. Because, as you said before, Liz, China goes in and engages in debt diplomacy, Belt and Road, where they give these Pacific nations loads and loads of money and say, oh, it's all yours, don't worry about it. And we know at some point they'll come in and cash the cheque and say, actually, thank you very much, we're going to get our money back now. Oh, you can't pay it? Well, maybe there's something else you can do for us. So we're just splashing around the cash in the hopes that we'll somehow combat China. We ain't going to combat China.
And China don't have to pay because they're a developing nation.
Exactly. And
Despite the fact they've got one of the largest militaries in the world, they've got a space station, but they're still developing.
And they went to COP29 asking for $1 billion from us and other countries to be given to countries like China. I mean, seriously.